Welcome to the latest edition of the Hustler Mindset Podcast, where Dave and Sebastian discuss all things business, life, and personal development. If you can Google it, you won't find it here. Take it away, fellas.
What's going on, guys? My name is Sebastian, and welcome back to the best podcast on the face of the planet. It is episode 24 of the Hustler Mindset Podcast, and Dave is going to take it away today and introduce us to the topic.
Obviously, episode 23 did not have any impact on you, the male ego, the
not.
Best on the planet.
We're getting there. I mean, it's our rules. If they don't want to listen to it, I mean, we can call it whatever we want, right?
Wait, we're only the best on the planet? What about the universe? Come on, man.
Yeah,
You're not
conquered. We're waiting for Elon to go to Mars first before we say that.
All right. In all seriousness, this is episode 24. The topic for today is something I came up with a couple years ago. It popped into my mind: health, wealth, and relationships. And who am I to be philosophical, but is it possible to have all three in life: health, wealth, and relationships? So I'm gonna throw out two questions for you. I said, the number one is, can you have it all? And if you think you have it all, define it. Or do you think these three things are almost like a ball of clay, where if you put too much emphasis on one side, do you lose on another side? Is there balance within those three things: health, wealth, and relationships? So we will reflect on each other, and I'll throw it over to you. We'll start with those three. Pick one and tell me how you feel about it.
So this one's going to be super easy because I feel like I already have all three of those. I'm not rich, but I don't think wealth equals having $20 million in your bank account. I think there's different levels of wealth. To some people, being wealthy is just eating that day, right? For me, being wealthy is having freedom and being able to make choices. So that's kind of my wealth, even though it's not monetary right now. It's all building, and there's still processes in the background that need to happen before we actually get, quote unquote, wealthy, right? By financial statements. I mean, I'm poor as hell, but it's okay. But I have everything in this like little perfect circle, right? Like I have my freedom. I have my health somewhat, right? Like I don't really have any health issues. I try to work out. I take cold showers. I'm mentally healthy. I'm stable for the most part. I mean, I do some crazy stuff, but I'm pretty stable as far as that's concerned. And then I have the best wife and the best son anyone could ever ask for. I don't have a friend circle. Like you're my only friend, really. I don't really talk to anyone else, but that's by choice. That's not really by anything else. It's because I don't need a large friend circle. And we've talked about that before. It's like that stuff doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. So with the relationships that I do have in my life, I very much cherish those, and I'm very grateful for those. So I almost do feel like life is almost perfect right now. Now, listen, would I want $10 million in my bank account? Yes. Do I want the IRS to be, taking money from me because I didn't pay taxes last year? No. Like, I wish I had money to pay the IRS off, and I wish we didn't have to worry about money. But money's irrelevant when you have freedom, and when you have your family, and when you have your health. Money is just like this extra piece of the cog, which will come in time, right? Money it has ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes you're poor, sometimes you're rich, and then sometimes, you have, I don't know, normality. So, yeah.
I agree with you, dude. Podcast over. I mean,
yeah, there we go. We're done. See you guys.
I'm shocked. I did not expect you. I did not. Your frame of mind this afternoon is amazing, because I did not expect that from you, because after we get, just for our listeners or watchers, after we get done with this 45-minute podcast, Sebastian goes to me offline. He goes, dude, I got to go. My back is killing me. And I'm like, and I feel bad for you, because he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I'm trying to solve your health issues. I know you have a bad back, and I'm like, yeah, try doing it standing up next time. Walk around. It's okay. But today you're saying it all, and yeah. That's amazing. Honestly, you said, yeah, you have it all. For a long time, I always felt like it's impossible. It's impossible to get all three: health, wealth, and relationships. Health. We're all going to die. We all have issues. We all have stresses. Our bodies hurt as we get older. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. For a year, I thought I had COVID every time I woke up and got out of bed every morning because I'm like, oh, here we go. I got it. And I'm like, no, that's just because you don't exercise. You're eating crappy. And so even though I eventually got it, I still felt like I had it every day for a year.
Yeah.
So health, yeah, we all have health issues. Wealth, you're right. If you have shelter over your head, you're putting food in your stomach and providing for your family. You should have it all if you're not homeless and really destitute and having a tough time there. Yeah. And then relationships, I think of marriage as the first one. Mm-hmm. You and I both know that our spouses have made us who we are. They, to sound cheesy and, mushy and gushy. Yeah. You remember Jerry Maguire, right? The movie?
No idea who that is.
Oh
no.
My gosh. Okay. All right.
Come on.
Well, you know the whole, you complete me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay. That's good enough.
But our spouses have completed us, right? Or
true.
they've almost kept us in check, and which is amazing. So our marriages are cool like that. That's when I think of relationships, that's where it starts. Relationship with your spouse. Then, your friends, and that's where it gets a little weird, because like you just mentioned, the more people you bring into your life, the more relationships you have to manage. Mm-hmm. How intense do you want these relationships to go? Yeah. I have friendships, thinking real quickly, I have like maybe 3 or 4 people that I speak to, and that's including you, that I feel comfortable kind of just like BS and speaking from, shooting from the hip. Yeah. But there's like 1 or 2 within there that I don't talk about this component of my life, or I don't talk about this component. And frankly, I think there may be 1 that I kind of open up and just like could blurt anything out. And that comes from experience and trust with these people and just experience. So, yeah. So yeah, I know health, wealth, and relationships, those that are listening, somebody might be like, oh, you have no idea, health, how much pain I am in every day getting up. No, I don't. I really don't. And I'm not going to discount and saying, oh, it's all relative, get over it. Yeah. No way. I mean, there's physical pain that you definitely have to attend to maybe every hour, every day, as opposed to, oh, my shoulder's flaring up once a month. Woe was me. Yeah. So, yeah. So, and then the wealth, is that a frame of mind? Or is that just a bank statement telling you?
Dude, it's a frame of mind. Wealth is a frame of mind. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what any guru or any Instagram post you see says. Like, you can have all the money in the world, but be the most miserable prick in the entire universe, right? That no one wants to be around, that no one likes, no one trusts. Everyone around you is fake. To me, that's not wealthy. If you're a hedge fund manager and you have to go to Manhattan 100 hours a week and be in a job that you hate, in an office that you hate, around a bunch of competitive douchebags that hate you and you all hate each other, that's not wealth to me. You may be bringing in $1 million a year, but you're miserable. You're trading your soul for a piece of paper, right? You're trading your soul just to keep up with the Joneses and to get the latest Mercedes and to get the latest, Armani suit next month. It's like, that's not wealthy, man. That's like the lowest rung of the totem pole. I'd rather be poor with my wife than to ever be one of those people. So wealth has nothing to do with money, in my opinion. It's like, when Cheyenne and I first met, she was getting out of a bad marriage to where they were like comfortable, right? They weren't rich, but they were more comfortable than what I've put Cheyenne through, right? Like, I've put her through some crazy, like, hellish journeys in the past few years as far as like finances are concerned and our businesses growing and all these things. Like, it's been a wild ride. It has not been smooth sailing whatsoever. She told me when we first got married, she's like, I want to struggle with someone. Right? Because like when her and this guy got married, he already kind of had like this established life, right? Like, he had a house, he had like a real job, and like financially he was more stable than I was. But this struggle that Cheyenne and I have been through over the past 4 years, and we still fight every single day, that's brought us so much closer than anything ever could, right? Like that brought me so much closer to her than like one of us starting off in a financial place to where we did have $1 million and maybe we could just like pay for everything and do everything. Like that doesn't build a relationship, right? Going through these dips and valleys, and like Dave, there's been times over the past few years like where we had $0. In fact, we had -dollars. We couldn't buy food. Like people had to give us money for food. Like we've been very broke over the past few years. And like that does something to a relationship. Either that makes it or that breaks it, right? And I always look at Cheyenne, I'm like, if we were ever going to get divorced, it would have happened already. Like there's nothing that we can go through at this point that like could break us. Like we've been through it all. We've had all these stresses financially. We've done all these things that are like the keys to divorce, right?
Yeah.
Like we're good. We're solid. And I know that. And I'm so confident in my relationship because of this journey of trying to become wealthy and trying to build up infrastructures and just trying to live a different lifestyle than everyone else. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people that get into relationships, they don't have that aspect of their life. They both have separate jobs. They're both going after different career paths. They both work 40, 50 hours a week and they don't see each other, right? And the few hours they see each other each day, it's spent watching Netflix or something like that, right? Whereas like Cheyenne and I, we're together all the time. Like I know you and Lori are together all the time. Yeah. It's like we're doing something together as a cohesive unit. So that relationship is something you can't break. So
yeah,
that's what I got.
I mean, we could title this podcast the roller coaster of life, because each one of those three that we mentioned, health, wealth, and relationships, there's a roller coaster in each of them, and it doesn't stop. You can't stop it. You can't hide from it. You can't, unless you can't. But some people try to run away from all of them. They try to escape. Live. I was going to say live in a camper in the mountains. You're still not going to avoid that stuff. Your health and stuff is going to go.
Might get worse. Your relationship might get worse if you're living in a camper in the woods. Your health might get worse because you start getting lazy. Who knows?
And totally. And it's the journey, not the destination. We always hear that, and it's so true, because the journey strengthens the relationships. The journey, it's the experiences along the journey that you value when it's all said and done, as opposed to the destination. You mentioned that the little struggles. I'm not going to say little, but the struggles that you have gone through. We're no different. We experienced that as well. I have 20 years on you, and there's a lot that goes on within those 20 years. Up until when we were 30, this is prior to kids. This for us, the sky was the limit. Let's call it, because you didn't know your ceiling. You didn't know where your flaws were, where you're going to stumble. Then you add on all these little variables of life, kids and house and all this weird stuff, and job and job security, and you can't control that. You really can't. So when those type of things start to get a little rocky in the roller coaster of life, those are little ripples, little bumps. Sometimes it leads up to a big dip in a roller coaster. That big drop in a roller coaster, as you mentioned, those could be relationship ending. You could run and say, I can't tolerate that anymore. Or you look and say, we made it through these ripples. This was a bad one. How do we avoid a bad one coming up?
It's a learning opportunity, dude. That's all it is. It's like there should have been so many situations over the past few years where Cheyenne should have just sat me down and be like, listen, idiot, this is great that you tried this, but like, go get a job. Like, just go get a job. Like, whatever. You can do eBay as a side hustle. You can do all these things as a side hustle, but go get like a real job so we're like safe and secure, But she never said that to me. She never once made me feel bad about making us really poor. She never once made me feel bad about like screwing up all these times and wasting money on freelancers that burned us, and like wasting money on bad inventory, making, like when I get an idea, like you and I are very similar. We're both visionaries. And when we get an idea, we kind of run with it for a little bit. And I've ran with those like little random ideas that I've had over the past few years, and they were complete wastes of time. Either they cost me money that I didn't need to spend, nor did I have, or I just like went really deep into a subject for no reason. And You know, she notices that about me. She notices when I'm going too deep into something, and she can kind of help pull me out of things, right? Where myself, I'm like, no, like, let me just go deeper. Let me go a little bit deeper. It's kind of like a drug addict. It's like, just one more hit, man. Just come on. Let me just let me hire one more freelancer, right? So she definitely reins me in. But before anyone can rein you in, before any relationship can be built, I want to kind of pivot and talk about being happy and healthy with yourself. If you don't like yourself, if you're not happy with who you are and you're not aware of who you are, you're not going to get anywhere. We kind of touched on this in the last podcast, and I mentioned, like, I'm very self-aware. Like, I know what my faults are. I know what I'm really good at. I know what my personality type is. I know who I get along with. I know who I don't get along with. So those things are really critical in life and in business and in, you know, just being friendly with people, right? I learned all of these things because of Cheyenne. That's the biggest thing she did for me as far as like a man and growth and personal development. She's really into psychology, and she was really into this thing called the Enneagram test, which is pretty much like a personality test, kind of like the Myers-Briggs, but a little bit more detailed. Think of like Myers-Briggs as like the corporate version, and then like the Enneagram is kind of like the more personal, deeper dive version. So I've mentioned it before on this podcast. If anyone is interested in learning more about themselves and learning about their spouse and how to communicate and all these things, I highly, highly, highly suggest taking an Enneagram test. It may really blow your mind away of how accurate it is, and it'll really teach you a lot about communication and about interpersonal stuff. So for me, that changed a lot of aspects of my life. It showed me like why I was angry at points, right? Like why things stressed me out, why I always thought I was crazy and stupid. Right, like we talked about that on like 2 podcasts ago about school and like how I thought I was stupid and I thought I was crazy and how people can't keep up with me. I truly feel like most people can't keep up with me because my mind goes this way and then it goes that way and then it goes that way. And people are like, wait, aren't we still going this way? I'm like, no, we were going that way 2 days ago. Like, that's old news, man. Like, let's go this other route, you know? A lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are just like unidirectional, right? They're like, no, like we're doing this for now. We're going to do this. And I'm like, bro, the world is your oyster. Come on. So knowing yourself is so important, but I don't think 99% of people know who they are. I think that's a huge issue in the country right now.
Yeah. And last episode about the male ego, if you want to find out about yourself, you're going to expose your weaknesses. Does the male ego really want to hear that? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And then you talk about what is that test again? What's it called?
The Enneagram test. So I don't want to spell it right now, but it starts with E. I think it's ENNGRAM or something like that. Really popular test. You should take it. You and Lori should take it. I'd be really curious to know. Like Cheyenne made some guesses about you guys, and I'm pretty sure she's 100% right about them because she almost always is. But you guys should take that tonight and let me know what it is.
Okay, it's the idiotgram.
I'll text it to you.
All right,
not the idiotgram, the Enneagram.
I know. I'm telling you, but honestly, that's probably very important. That's cool to take just to learn about yourself, and if you're in a relationship, to learn about each other. It's taken, Lori and I have been married for 25 years, right? It probably, we're still figuring out who the heck we are. But I look at her differently now, and she knows me. I know my weaknesses. I get impatient. I get anxious. And and how that is manifested, honestly, in our relationship is dangerous, because if I get impatient and anxious, as do you, and you even share this, it comes out as nastier, you know, like whatever. But thankfully I identify it. But still words come out, actions come out. And I love this saying. It's like trying to put toothpaste back into the tube. It's too late. It's impossible. And I heard this also, a pastor out here said, it's like taking a drill, drilling into the wall, and all this sawdust comes back in. You can't put that sawdust back in and make it as strong as possible. So once you say something bad, you can't repair it. So the sooner you could check yourself, the better it is for you and the relationship and the other party involved in a relationship. what is the purpose of this podcast?
I don't
Anyway,
know.
it's the
Is there a purpose?
it's the Hustler Mindset podcast, where we talk about life, business, and personal development, right?
Yeah. I think all these things are important. You can't be a hustler without knowing yourself, without being realistic, without knowing your flaws and your benefits and what you can offer to society. I think all these things are so critical. You know, and there's some people that might come listen to this and like only want like super high level like sales tactics or like eBay techniques or whatever, like how to make money. It doesn't matter if you make money. If you don't have a base line in your life, the money doesn't matter. Money is like that famous quote. It's like money will only make you more of what you already are.
That's right.
I truly believe in that.
Yeah,
if you're an awful person, money will not fix you. But if you're a great person, you will do great with money. So I think it's important to talk about.
It is. And I love it. I love speaking through these things. The topics come up, the title of the topic, call it the roller coaster of life or health, wealth, and relationships. And we go down these rabbit holes and then we back to the topic, and everyone's flawed. There's no perfect person out there. And in all these podcasts that we've done in the past, whether it's the male ego or content creation and flexing and all this, you know what? You just know who you are and stay true to who you are. That's the most important thing, because success will manifest itself, or if you want to call it that, in whatever ways possible. Your relationship, people want to surround themselves with positive people.
Yeah. Totally.
And so good stuff. I wrote down something earlier. I said, okay, you and I, getting a little off topic here. You and I are both a 4-letter word beginning with W. Okay. Yours is a 4-letter word, begins with W. Mine is a 4-letter word, begins with W. And I'll give you the answer.
Okay. I'm trying to think of
you are wild, and I am wise. And so of course I have 2 decades on you, but I could share this with you. You're wild because of your age and your personality, and that's not. And I like it because you're willing to take chances early on, especially early on as a young father. You're willing to take chances that whatever happens, it'll be okay. Yeah. I'm more, wise because I have the experience. I've been through more, and I could share more experiences and more stories. Neither one is better than the other, but I like the balance that we have there, because you by wild, you just admitted it. Like you continue to pursue something, even though most people would probably back away and be like, it didn't work out. I tried 2 times. I'm done. Yep. You're like, no, I'm not taking no for the answer the second time.
Yeah. There's no option. Yeah. There's no option. Right.
And you also, with the interview with Tommy Pags, you said, and I listened to this last night, you said, well, let's clear this up. You're a millennial, technically? Yeah. Okay. I don't even know. I mean, to me, millennial is like early 20s. I guess time flies. All right. So you're a millennial, and you were saying how your personality, your generation asks why instead of I'm doing it. Yeah. And Tommy was saying just the opposite, as did I, in my mind, saying when somebody would say, do this, you say, done, I'm doing it, and without asking questions. Yeah. So that's what's interesting. We have a different generation, the asking why generation, versus Tommy Pags, which was, I'm doing it, and me, which is, I'm doing it because you're telling me to do it, and I'm going to give you credit because you're my superior or whatever. Yeah. So, that's the whole thing. You're wild. I'm wise. Will you always be wild?
I hope so. Stay tuned. I hope so. I hope I never grow up and be a schmuck. No offense, you're not a schmuck, but I hate people that like just grow up and try to pretend to be adults. That's why I like you, because you're like a kid, especially like off the air when it's just me and you talking. Like you're very fun, and you still have that wild like young man spark in you, which is fun for me, right? I don't ever plan on growing up. Like I plan on being myself, and if people don't like that, they don't like that. I don't care. What we were talking about with Tommy and like millennials and asking why, I think a lot of that has to do personally with my personality traits too. It's like I'm not a sheep. I'm not just like a mindless follower of anyone. And what I told you when we first met is I don't want to be your employee. I want to be your partner, right? Like I am not looking to be anyone's employee. Even if you gave me a job at Lowe's right now, I want to feel like a partner rather than an employee. I want to be like, okay, well, why are we doing that? Because maybe I have a better way to do it, right? Like I understand you're my manager, but still, let's talk about it. Let's see if there's like a better solution to this, you know? And coming back from my kitchen days, there was room for that in some sense. But if the chef told you like, hey, like go peel these potatoes, you just go peel the potatoes, right? So I'm kind of like 50-50 when it comes to that. Like if I'm in a position to where someone is superiorly more knowledgeable than me, and I'm not talking about a basic middle manager making $13 an hour thinking that they're God. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a high level individual that really knows what they're talking about. The only time I would ask why is because it's a learning opportunity for me, right? So there's different reasons to ask why. Maybe you're asking why because you're confused with the task. Maybe you're simply asking why because you want to understand what's going through that person's head, so then you can reflect on it and use it as a learning opportunity. That's one of my biggest skills in life, is asking why and talking to people and understanding why we're doing things, just so again, I can benefit from it. That's why I like that question. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking why. Now, if you're in a super low level position and you just keep asking, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And you're just like complaining about everything, that's a whole nother story. And we've met people like that, right? Like there's crazy people out there that just want to complain about every single aspect of their jobs. That's not really the point I was trying to make with that podcast or with that kind of conversation.
Right.
You know, different levels of why.
Yeah. And and Tommy's response to that was interesting, because he goes, that's on you as a manager to convey the goals and how to get to the goals somewhat,
right?
But leaving some autonomy, like allowing people to be creative. He even said that. No, he said ingenuity. He said allowing ingenuity to take over, allowing them to feel ownership in what they do.
Yep.
And that's where what you just shared, you don't want to be an employee, punching in, checking the box and going home and just collecting your paycheck. You want to feel like you're quote unquote adding value. You want to be part of it. And that's so important. Very important. Anyway, so
listen, I think everyone wants to feel part of something. I think that if you give people more autonomy and more free reign to decide what's going to happen throughout a day-to-day basis, and I think we can kind of reflect back on 2020, not that you and I had corporate office jobs, right? We're not really in that world anymore. But we saw a lot of people transition from their commute and their corporate office job, driving 2 hours into Philly every single day. Now, all of a sudden, they're sitting in their home office. They're seeing their kids for 10 hours a day instead of 1 hour a day right before bedtime. They're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with their wives. They get to have a choice as to what goes on in that day. So, like, if you don't think that that's going to boost productivity, there's a screw loose in your head. If you just give people that simple option, be like, hey, do you want to work from home? Do you want to have some more autonomy? Like, these are still your expectations. This is how you got to get it done. We don't care how you get it done, but you still have to do it no matter where you are in the world. It's a beautiful thing. And I think that's why people are having big issues with maybe like going back to work and stuff like that after all this is over, is because now they're used to it. They understand that this is better for their mental health, for their family, for their productivity, so it's just eye-opening what happened, and I think a lot of people's mindsets did shift after 2020 when it came to their careers and what they really want out of life. And I think it's a very valuable lesson, because again, like you and I aren't in that life anymore. We do whatever we want every single day. And a lot of people can't grasp that. Yeah. Like most people in America, they cannot grasp that you and I do whatever we want every single day. Sure, there's repetitive tasks that we kind of have to do throughout the day, but for the most part, they're not hyper time sensitive critical unless we have a meeting with someone. So that is freedom. That is wealth. That is everything that people, I hope, are chasing, you know?
And we're not looking to solve the world's problems, but you and I, as we go through each week, month, year of our lives, identify things along the way that start to make a little bit more sense. You just mentioned people at home call it for the last year, enjoying components of their lives. I just read an article that gas prices in Colorado alone, for some reason, spiked over the last week because there were not enough like tanker drivers or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, we take so many of these little things for granted. When you get a finished product. So there's these tanker drivers, and the article said like it's just people just aren't willing to work anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're lazy. So it's so easy to be like, oh, they're so lazy. They were spoiled getting handouts and they don't want to work. But maybe they're saying, I'm not going to go back to that lifestyle that I thought I had to do. I'd rather hustle or find myself or contract what I thought I had to commit to in life financially, and because I value my relationships more than I value wealth.
Yep.
The chase for a dollar or many dollars comes at a sacrifice, and that's the thing. You know, we've seen it. We know from our past experience how you in particular just said, if I went down this career of working in a restaurant, you would have been working 70, 80 hours a week.
Easily.
You really think you would have had a relationship the way it is now?
There's no way.
No way.
No.
We've seen other people that pursue this 25 plus year long career, just using their male ego and crushing and winning and crushing and winning. And how many marriages are they on?
Right. It's a common trait. It's not like we're even just talking crap. It's a very common trait of those people. You know, they're getting divorced every other year. It seems like it's like a competition to them or something.
Yeah. They may quote unquote have the wealth component and on their bank accounts, but what good is that if you can't share it with people that you care about?
Exactly.
And then you have the health component. Like I saw it when, and same thing. Like you even mentioned, you know, when you're in your 20s and you're working crazy hours, you don't feel it. Your body can, handle it. But then you get into your 30s, late 30s, 40s, forget about it. And it's just like, boom, it takes days to recover. And I've seen it with people. I've seen people look really old within a matter of a couple years.
Yep.
And that's because they're hopping on trains and commuting and all that crap.
Dude, I'm not even 30 and I feel like I'm a freaking 50-year-old man sometimes with my back issues, and like my knee sounds like there's broken glass in it and my neck hurts and I have like minor carpal tunnel sometimes. But all that is because my career path, when I turned 18, I got into kitchens and I got into a high level of cooking eventually. And like before that, I would work so hard, right? Like there was 14, 16-hour days. I mean, constantly. Yeah. It wasn't like just like, oh, you're going to do a 6-hour shift here and then, maybe a 4-hour shift here. It's like, no, dude, you're going to go to work for 8 to 16 hours a day and you're going to like it and you're going to shut up. And it's like, dude, I burned half my face off with hot oil. I sliced the tip of my thumb off on a meat slicer. I've got more cuts and burns than you could ever imagine. I've cried through a service of cooking food for other people on a Saturday night. Like I was literally crying. I've been through all that. And like, I beat my body up for someone else to make money. I gave away my best years as a young man to make someone else's experience on a Saturday night good, right? A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand what that actually takes and how that affects you mentally. Luckily for me, I was able to get out of that industry, and now I use that as like a fuel almost, right? Because I know what I did in the past. I know how hard I worked, and I know that there's very few people on this planet that can really outwork me physically and mentally, because like I've been through the ringer. There's really nothing you can throw at me as far as like work related that's really going to confuse me. Like maybe, okay, I don't want to go work on a pipeline. I don't want to be a police officer or a firefighter. That's a whole different thing. But as far as like physical labor and doing things like that, it's like, man, you're going to have a tough time beating me because I'm not a corporate schmuck. I wasn't raised like that, right? Like I was down to the bone, like just working and standing. And if we sat down, it was a special occasion to sit down and have lunch at work, you know? So I wish more people would go into manual labor. I wish more people would understand what that actually does to a young man, you know, how much more that can inspire you and get you going and have, you know, this certain level of, I don't know, like this different baseline. Like we talked about it before. It's like I had this part-time job at Lowe's, and the people that I worked with were like almost comedic with how lazy and how lame they were. Like I would look at these men, I'm like, how do you get by in your day? You're so lazy. Like this isn't even a hard job and you can't even do this. Like God help you in your future if this is how you want to go out through the rest of your life. And I shined at my job at Lowe's within just a few weeks of being there. I was the manager's favorite person because guess what? I was running everywhere I went. Like Dave, literally, I would get to Lowe's at 4 a.m. Instead of walking down the aisles to stock things, I would literally sprint. Like, I am not kidding you, dude. I was sprinting down Lowe's because I'm like, I might as well just run and get abs, right? I might as well just use this as a workout opportunity. Whereas everyone else was chugging Red Bull and like sluggish 1 hour later.
Yeah. And you have some long legs. So that must have been a nice.
Legs. It was fun, man. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was freaking wild.
I was going to say, I would compare you to Ronaldo Nehemiah. In the 80s, he was an Olympic track star that went into the NFL and became a wide receiver, I believe, for 49ers. And he had long legs, and he could book down that field. It took him a little while to get going, but once he got going, he was like a locomotive, like flying. So I'm gonna YouTube Ronaldo Nehemiah today.
I love it.
So so the whole health, wealth, and relationships, each one, I believe, has like a ceiling or a pain point where we all know the physical pain with health. Wealth, it may not be physical, but you know when you're in trouble with your wealth. And in relationships, if you're you're distancing from those that you care about, that's a pain point too. So all these little things, and I'll talk about health just for a second. You know me, you saw my car. I have like fast food bags all over the place. I remember I borrowed your van for like 2 days, and I was throwing all my Chick-fil-A bags in your sink. I know you picked them up and cleaned it. So thank you. I eat poorly. That's my weakness, but I love it at times. Yeah. But I'm aware that I have to kind of scale back. I can't be an animal all the time. It's going to catch up to me. So as you know, Sean, our son who graduated high school, he's going to enlist in the Marines and go in February. So he cooks his own dinners. It's amazing how well he's treating his body, and he works out all the time. So I went to the gym with him, and he was enlightening me how to kind of lift weights and work out, because it's been like 15, 20 years since I've lifted weights. So I'm lifting like half the weight that he lifts, which is really demoralizing. Talk about male ego. Which is half the weight. So he's got like his 80-pound shoulder press. I'm doing 40. Yeah. But but I'll share this with you. I haven't worked out. I don't like working out. To me, working out has to be a sport. Like it has to be a kind of like a byproduct of having fun. So
I get it.
So I don't enjoy the ellipticals and all that stuff. But the whole weight thing was interesting, because just a few like weights, and you could look at this. Look at these guns.
Look at that, man. It's beautiful.
Look at that.
Yeah, you're getting there.
All right, I'm working on it. So anyway, this little bit of weight training has a byproduct in itself. I'm sleeping better at night. And my posture's a little bit better. I always had bad posture. It's still in my genes. I'm never going to get rid of all of it, but I still feel strength. And so it's helping me feel a little bit more vibrant. Yeah. Not crazily, but I'll go maybe 3 times a week, just like a little half an hour, 40-minute type of gig at the gym. So it's fun. All these little things, if you address them, you can improve other areas of your life. And And the same thing goes for wealth. You know, if you practice good budgeting and all that, I know it's boring. Nobody likes to say the B word, budget. It stinks because to me, it's painful. You know, that's not freedom. It's not freedom having a budget.
It sucks. No, budgets are awful.
Right. But if you adhere to something within a wider budget parameters, whatever, but controlling spending like $12 a day is not going to make a huge difference. No. And then relationships, you know, and it could be something as simple as just spending time. I see you take walks with the family.
Yep, all the time.
How do you put a price tag on that? It's just it's beautiful stuff. So all these little things need to be taken care of or addressed. They cannot be neglected.
Yeah. So, you know, what you're saying about health, I want to touch on that real quick. It's a lot of people think like, oh, I got to go to the gym, I got to lift weights, I got to, you know, get swole, and that's the only health that you get from like going to the gym, which is great. Like, listen, I am a huge proponent of physical health. I think everyone should work out. I think you should do hard things every single day. But there's different aspects of health. Obviously, like mental health is I would say probably more critical than physical health because your mind is way more powerful than anyone could ever imagine. Just the mental health aspects that you get from working out or dieting or doing hard things like taking cold showers every day, those things add a level of confidence that can't be bought, right? Like I did 50 pull-ups on a tree branch yesterday, and then I took a cold shower after that. I took a cold shower this morning, and like I touched on it the last podcast, like why do I take cold showers? It's like, well, did you take a cold shower today? Probably not. So now I feel like I have a one-up advantage on you because like I know how to battle through these things. I know how to be uncomfortable. You may not know how to be uncomfortable, and immediately I have an advantage over you, whether it's like an interpersonal advantage, whether it's a business advantage. It sounds crazy, but something as simple as taking a cold shower will give you an advantage over other people. And like for me, you said you don't exactly like working out. I don't really love working out. It's kind of boring. I used to be really big into bodybuilding and weightlifting, and I was just like Sean, right? Like I just tried to have the best bench press and the deadlift. Like I used to be able to deadlift over 300 pounds, squat over 300 pounds. Like I was pretty strong back in the day when I took it seriously, but I kind of lost that fire. I don't get any enjoyment out of bodybuilding, but I love boxing. I love fighting. And that is one of the best workouts you could ever do. But that again, it builds my mental fortitude. Like not only am I getting the physical benefits of, you know, one of the most strenuous workouts you could ever do in your life, but now I know that, hey, I know how to throw a punch, right? Like I know how to work a bag. Like I know how to do these things, and I know I have decent stamina. So like, God forbid, if something ever happened on the street, I can like handle myself and I can protect my family if I don't have my gun on me, right? It's like one of those things to where if someone doesn't know how to fight, I can knock them out. But if they know how to fight, like I'm screwed, like I'm done, right? But I have this level of confidence, and my baseline is higher than other people's because I do these things and I train in these things and I enjoy these things. So kind of how you were saying, your posture felt a little bit better. Yeah. Well, once your confidence goes up, guess what? You puff your chest out a little bit more. You walk a little bit straighter. So it's all like a full circle thing to where you need to treat them all equally. Like all these things matter. Your mental, your physical health, your spiritual health, that matters too. It's like, what do you believe in? What's your faith? What's your core beliefs as a person, you know? And then balancing that with your relationships, with your business, with your jobs, with your wealth. All these things are so critical, but a lot of people do fail at one of them. And if you fail at one of them, you have nothing. I truly believe that, you know?
Yeah, you know, health. You just said health. You know, health. Like we were talking about health. I immediately just say physical, and you brought up mental. I wrote that down earlier, but I didn't put enough emphasis on it because that's very important. I think 2 minutes into the thing, I made a note here. Cold shower? Question mark. I wrote that earlier, and I was like, you know what? Let me cross it out. I don't want to go there. And now you brought it up again. Yeah. What's with this cold shower stuff? It's this. It's like the third thing I've seen on people writing on Instagram. Somebody wrote like, "Have you taken a cold shower today?" or something like that. I'm like, what is this? Something I'm missing? I'm gonna try it. And I was in the I was in the shower yesterday or something, and the thing's on like medium, hot. And I'm like, oh man, I can't pull that thing down the cold. No way. What is the purpose of that? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
What
Okay,
is it?
so not only does it help your body, it has a lot of benefits as far as like your physical body is concerned. I don't exactly know them all, but I know it's great for, you know, your insides somehow, right? Like all that stuff is great. For me though, it's a toughness thing. That's really what I use it for. Now, with me having a bad back, obviously like cold water and, you know, that stuff is good for you rather than sitting in a hot, steamy shower. But the cold water just does something to you, man. It tests your limits because it's not comfortable. It gets you out of your comfort zone. Like the way I look at it, it's like, did I earn a hot shower today? What did I do to earn a hot shower? Why am I taking a hot shower right now? Like I better have had an amazing day to earn this, but I haven't done anything today. So guess what? I'm taking a cold shower because that's all I deserve today. And again, it builds my mental fortitude. Like if we go into a meeting in the next hour and I just took a cold shower and you took a hot shower and you ate 10 cheeseburgers, guess who's going to be on at that point? Guess who's going to win that meeting, right? And listen, there's so many benefits. There's so many good benefits. And I promise you, Dave, just trust me. Take a cold shower, step in it, swirl the water in your mouth, put it on your face, and I promise you, within under a minute, it's not going to be that cold anymore. I 110% promise you. And anyone listening to this, they should try it again. They 100% should try it. It may change the way you think about showers. It was one of the best things I've ever done for myself besides intermittent fasting. But again, the mental benefits are one of the best things. And honestly, like this is going to be kind of related, but it's going to be kind of on a side note. Reason why I stopped smoking pot, right? This is going to sound crazy, but I'll kind of roll into it. We all know Grant Cardone, the high-level salesperson, right? Yep. He said this crazy quote one day. He used to smoke pot. He used to party. He used to do all these things. He said, if we're both in our Rolls Royces on the highway, I'm sober and you're smoking a joint and getting high, guess who's going to go faster on that highway? And I'm like, holy crap, that blew my mind, right? Because that's true. It is 110% true. So that's why I don't do drugs. That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't smoke. I don't do anything. I am completely sober. I've been sober for a long time, and my baseline is different than other people's, right? So that's why I add these hard things to my life. That's why I intermittent fast and I starve myself and take cold showers and do hard things. It's because it makes me a better person.
Yeah, you know? And it's awareness of you, your spirit, your mental health, your physical health, and the consequences that go along with it. I agree. Like I'm the same way. Like just even drinking, like I'm just like, you know, is it worth it? Like, and then there's a trade-off. You know, like you may feel temporary, you know, flighty and all this stuff, but then what's the trade-off? It's a physical and then whatever. So this was a fun. This was a fun one, and. So next one, do you have anything in mind? Keep it in no teasers or anything. I think you're going to come up with next week's topic.
I think I got a good one following this. I think we should talk about buying your time back. I think that's a good jumping off point after this, because if you buy your time back and you spend your resources to work more efficiently rather than work more hours, even though you may get busier as you scale, this is something that I could personally talk about right now because our life is getting busier, more things are happening, and I need to find a way to scale my business that doesn't involve me, right? So you could buy your mental health back, you could buy your physical health back, you could buy your relationships back, and you could buy more wealth if you do buy your time back. So I think we can talk about that. You know, you've had employees for a long, long time. We could talk about the issues that come with hiring physical employees, but then compared to me who hires only digital employees. I think that's a really good talking point.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. I just thought about that on the spot.
I'm going to write that down before we forget, because I know you outsource to a lot of freelancers and the product that they provide is professional and it would take way too much of your time to get to that level. So you have to be smart. You have to know when to outsource. We don't have it all. We're all flawed, but we are strong in certain areas. So, all right, till next week. Good chat. We'll talk later.
Love it, man. Adios. Bye-bye.